dollar, Ethereum on the dollar, as well as Ripple on the dollar. But let's first dive into our Bitcoin to US dollar pairing here and look at this technical analysis. This was actually done by Brent Walker, one of our analysts at Traders Profit Club. If you guys are part of our premium Discord group where we post daily signals, you guys know exactly about that. If you're not a part of that, the link is in the description below. But I want to talk about this flag pattern that we see forming here. This is a bull flag. If you guys understand trading patterns, what we have here is descending resistance, a descending support level here, and this is after an initial breakout, which would make this a bull flag. And so what's interesting about this is we do have this first level of resistance right around that 3600 level, and if we were to break out of this, our first target is really going to be around that 3745 to 3755 level, and that's really that strong resistance here that we've met several times in the past. And if we actually pull this chart even further back, you can see that's a level that's acted as resistance and support in the past multiple times, and so that's why it's important to watch this level. Now, one good thing we see in this chart here is this huge spike in buy volume. Now, we've talked about this in the past. This is most likely institutional traders. However, what's there to say that more institutional traders aren't yet to come into this market, right? And so we saw with the news headlines in our past live streams, like the first U.S. pension fund to start investing in cryptocurrencies just made a headline. And so things like that and continued news of that nature is definitely going to drive this market upwards. And that's why there's this potential breakout to occur here soon. And then really the next test that we'd expect Bitcoin to make is this previous high from January 7th, which is around that 4,000 level, which is also a big even. And so looking at the RSI, we're seeing some really positive things here. You can see we became overbought for a little bit, and then we saw this descent, and now we're starting to find a little bit of some support here. And obviously you don't necessarily see RSI continue one pattern for a long period of time. As you can see in the past, the RSI likes to reverse, and so right now, this area right here is probably going to be that level in which we'll see more buyers come into this market as they find Bitcoin as, you know, a strong buy. And so right now what I'd be watching for is this breakout to the upside here. You can watch this EMA, this green line, to go ahead and indicate that. If we pull up the daily chart, you can see with this RSI as well, we're still in that neutral zone, and we very much likely can start to go ahead and pop back up to that 60 level, test that, and then go ahead and pass that, allowing us to go to that second target of 4,000 that we've got initiated here. And so looking at Ethereum to the US dollar, we're seeing something a little bit different and still quite interesting here. If you look at Ethereum, you can see to the US dollar, we've got this ascending support level, you've got this long-standing descending resistance level here, and we are starting to approach the apex of this triangle. And so what's interesting about that is we're still below that 50-day moving average here in red, but we're also starting to see this EMA here converge with that 50-day moving average, indicating that we'll most likely see some sort of a breakout sometime soon. And so what I'm watching right now is the retest of this RSI here at 60, and then for that breakout confirmation to occur, we'd want to see this RSI past 60 and hopefully find some support around 60 before seeing overbought levels. And that first target that I have drawn out here would be right around that $200 mark here for Ethereum. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Ethereum at these levels, especially with the amount of volume. We're starting to see some good volume here. As you can see, once we didn't see volume, we saw this descent. But now that we see this volume, it would make sense for Ethereum to see some higher price levels. And so Ethereum is looking a little bit better in my opinion. The one thing I'd be watching right now is for us to go above that 50-day moving average. The good thing is we are approaching this known resistance level. And so if we can see any breakout past 130 US dollars on the Bitfinex chart, then that could be confirmation that we'd most likely go ahead and start approaching these highs to retest that $200 big even. And so to transition into Ripple's technical analysis, let's take a look at what we're seeing here. So with Ripple, you see we've got this uptrend here forming with the RSI, which is quite positive. We went ahead and broke past these oversold levels back into that neutral zone here on the daily chart. And so what's interesting about this daily chart here is we're still below this EMA. And so what we'd like to see with the exponential moving average is price action above the EMA to indicate some possible momentum upwards. And the cool thing here is we're also approaching that apex here. And so I am going to be expecting some movements sometime in the next 48 hours in this market, just because of where price action is at and how we've been following these trends. You know, trends obviously like to repeat themselves, and with price action, we don't necessarily see this type of consolidation last too long before seeing a breakout to the upside or downside. And so if we were to start breaking up to the upside, I see a little bit less potential here with Ripple, just because of the fact that you've got this strong resistance here at the 50-day moving average. And so I'd be very careful to get into Ripple. And if we look at the BTC chart, we've been talking about XRP's BTC chart as well, most likely looking a little bit overbought at this point. You know, Ripple's done very well over the past few months as Bitcoin has seen a descent. Ripple has started to increase in Satoshi value. And so we broke out of this ascending pattern. We started to see more sell volume. And you can see here, we're still at these lower RSI levels. And so we're still below 40 here. And anything below 40 is considered quite bearish, because this could quite certainly take us back down towards that 30 level, making us completely oversold. And so I'd be a little bit careful with the Ripple right now, just because we've already seen the positive gains with Ripple. And right now you can see even with Satoshi value, we're below that EMA, we're below that 50-day moving average, and things just aren't looking as good. Now, I'm not saying Ripple is going to go all the way down and tank. I would say that the next standing supports, what we also talked about in our last live streams, right on that 7,500 Satoshi level. And so that's what I'd be watching here for Ripple. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you guys believe Ethereum and Bitcoin might see some price action upside while Ripple sees some price action at the downside? Leave it in the comments below. And by the way, obviously we're not doing this as a live stream. I do have a lot of meetings set up today, so I wasn't able to do a live stream, but I hope you guys enjoyed these type of videos as well. Make sure to like the video if you guys haven't already. But let's go ahead and also look at Bitcoin to Ethereum here. So we already looked at Ethereum to the US dollar, but looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum against Bitcoin, we've been watching this converging EMA and 50-day moving average here, if you guys have been keeping up with our live streams. And you can see we're also starting to test that 60 level multiple times. We're starting to go up for that third retest of that high. And so once we see that breakout to the upside from the RSI, that's going to be the confirmation here that we're most likely to see a breakout up to these higher RSI, or these higher Satoshi levels, around 4 million Satoshis, coming from around 3.3 million Satoshis. So there's that huge opportunity here. You can see we've got this moving average just lying here and waiting here for us. So that's the opportunity here that I see with Ethereum to Bitcoin. And so if we were to go back to Bitcoin and the US dollar, one thing I want you guys to realize here as well before we wrap this video up is the fact that obviously we're at these lower price levels right now, but transactions per day right now for Bitcoin are still maintaining the highs that we saw back in December during that $20,000 rally. Not only that, you can see we're starting to see more and more volume catch up to Bitcoin. And so these levels could very much be the bottom of this market. And if we were to see any sort of downside, I don't expect us to break this ascending support level that's starting to form. And, you know, when we look at the NASDAQ, this is something I've talked about in live streams in the past. When we look at the NASDAQ and we go back to the 2008 recession, just so you can get a comparison of how it's like recovering from a bear market, you can see how the recovery occurs. Obviously, you see the downside after this upside, but you have to understand the psychology applies both ways. So the same way that the psychology brought the market here in 2008 to these highs, it also acts the same way on the way down. You start to see this oversold level, and that's this area right here form. And so the way this formed is by creating this ascending support level before really seeing the breakout to the upside. And so right now in the cryptocurrency market, we could very well be at this level right now. You know, we've seen downside for such a long time. And so keep in mind that this could be the season for these digital currencies to come back into dominance. And we could really start to see this total market cap go from between 100 and 150 billion and start, you know, etching its way towards that $500 billion market cap, $500 billion market cap, and starting to ascend towards that $1 trillion market cap, which I certainly expect sometime in the next 2 to 3 years at most. And so, you know, the same way that the NASDAQ corrected in 2008 crisis is the same thing that we can expect to see here with Bitcoin as well. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to wrap this baby up here, but if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like the video and stay tuned. We should be back on live Monday, I'm going to be taking Saturday and Sunday off to work on the mastermind that we'll be having here in Hollywood, California on March 2nd. If you guys are not part of our premium group, by the way, the link is in the description below. We send out daily crypto forex and stock signals. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the Discord.